Following the U.S. military operation in Venezuela, there has been renewed interest in President Trump's desire to acquire the territory of Greenland. When pressed about it by reporters over the weekend, the president said acquiring Greenland would benefit the U.S. and the European Union. And the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, later put out statements to the press saying the use of U.S. military is, quote, always an option, end quote. Well, joining me now to talk about this, Brigadier General John Teichert, former Assistant Deputy Undersecretary for in the Air Force for International Affairs. General, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Tony, thanks for having me again.
There's no question of the value of Greenland, but you don't have to own something to use it, do you?
Tony, you don't. And we get all or almost all of the benefits from Greenland by the partnership we currently have with Greenland and Denmark. There are economic benefits, there are security benefits, there are diplomatic benefits, and we have a very robust series of mechanisms to allow for collaboration in Greenland, including a U.S. Air Force or Space Force base that we utilize regularly. And I don't know why now we are threatening implicitly or explicitly our friend and our partner in Denmark and Greenland to try to bargain better and get those benefits that we're already receiving from that territory.
General, I've not heard much about this in the discussion, but as I was researching a little bit more, there's a little-known Cold War agreement that was signed back in 1951 that basically gives the United States the run of Greenland. Now, it was amended in 2004 to say, hey, at least tell us what you're going to do, but we can pretty much do everything or anything we need to do right now.
Tony, that's exactly right. And those mechanisms for collaboration can allow us mutual benefit from the territory by working alongside of our Danish and our Greenlander partners. And I reflect back on the U.S. Space Force base that's already there, the agreement that allows space situational awareness, missile defense, Arctic defense. And I have no doubt that if we ask Denmark and Greenland for an economic collaboration on critical minerals or oil, or another base, or a series of bases, then we could easily get to yes on that without, again, threatening our friends and our partners.
So wait a minute, you just mentioned the critical minerals. Is that an issue here? Because we have access for military defense purposes. Is it the minerals and such that are under the ice?
Tony, there are a lot of critical minerals, rare earth metals, and oil that is there in the territory, but we have economic agreements with Greenland and Denmark that can allow us the benefit of exploring and exploiting those minerals, metals, and that oil. And there's no reason why we need to own it to benefit from it. And I think that we could very easily, without threats, pursue opportunities for added collaboration to benefit economically, like we already are, but maybe even a larger extent without the threats that we've seen in the last few days.
All right, General Teichert, let me ask you a bigger question here, because we're talking about Greenland, but there's a bigger issue, and that is the NATO alliance. What would it be like if, we're talking about using the military against another country that it's in NATO?
Tony, the NATO alliance would essentially crumble if we did what we've been suggesting we might do. And it even reflects back to the bigger item, which is this, that the greatest strategic advantage the United States has is that we have developed and painstakingly maintained a large and trusting network of allies and partners since the end of World War II that has uniquely benefited the United States. And the thing about friends, Tony, is that when you make threats to them, you turn around at some point and realize they're not there. And if we didn't have friends, allies, and partners that deter our adversaries and we provide mutual benefit alongside of, then that would be profoundly harmful to the United States economically, militarily, diplomatically, and politically.
You dealt with the international aspects of relationships when you were in the United States Air Force as a general. How do we calm things down here and move forward in a way that, there's no question of the strategic benefit of Greenland, but it benefit more than just the United States.
It does. And I really hope that when Secretary of State Marco Rubio sits down with his counterparts next week, probably in the middle of the week, that they come to some conclusions about the mutual benefit of how we can work together to use Greenland alongside of Denmark and our NATO partners. And the thing that I definitely realize here is that the president loves the negotiating tactic of keeping all options on the table. And in general, when working against adversaries, that's wise. You don't want the adversary to know what you're not going to do because it simplifies their strategic calculus. But the trust that's ingrained in this large network of allies and partners allows us to benefit massively and mutually. And the problem with threats is that we can't explore the benefits because now you don't have the trust that cements the nations together. And I fear that even that comment from the Secretary or Levitt, the press secretary, that now has a chilling effect on a relationship that can start to thaw any of the benefits that we get from a close relationship with NATO and allies and partners.
Yeah, General, that's a really good point. I mean, the president is a great negotiator. I mean, he holds himself out as the art of the deal. But real estate is something different when you're talking about a building in Manhattan as you're talking rather than a country. It doesn't necessarily work the same. General, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your insights.
Thank you, Tony.